How much money do you need to have before retiring early? Today, I'm going to share my thought process and also how I overcome the fear of uncertainty before taking that plunge. Hopefully, if you're planning for early retirement, hopefully this makes things much clearer for you. Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia and I'm a Singaporean who retired early and moved to Thailand a few months back. So initially I thought, FIRE is all about the numbers, right? I have this Excel file where I track everything, simulate everything, the expenses, the kind of potential income, dividend income, and rental income, and all of that. And I remember that there was this day before I kind of took the plunge and throw the resignation letter, right? Uh, I was staring at the Excel file thinking, oh, I think this could work from a numbers standpoint, this could work. But actually, I think the real question was whether I have that courage to step away from my life and, embrace the uncertainty, right? Uh, what if I throw this resignation letter and and I end up having to sleep on the street, or what if there is this like black swan event that kind of like wipe all my savings away, or what if I move to Thailand and I don't actually like it here, then what, right? So there was a lot of fear, a lot of kind of overblown fear. But actually, if you look at it objectively, I think, some of these fears are exaggerated, and I think it's normal to to have these overblown fears in our head. Uh, so objectively looking at the numbers, I was actually using this 4% rule. Of course, it's just a guideline, but this 4% rule is something that I think a lot of people in the FIRE community uses, and it kind of assumes like a 30-year retirement period and liquid assets that's invested mostly in equities, right? So that assumes a 30-year period. I kind of like retired at 36, so until 30 years later I'm only 66, right? So uh, that 4% rule might not be enough. So, adjust accordingly. I think for early retirement, probably a 2 to 3% will be much safer. It gives you a little bit more buffer. So for example, if your monthly expense is $2,000, your yearly expense is $24,000, then if you use the 4% rule, you will use 24,000 divided by 4%, right? So you need like 600,000 in liquid assets before you can kind of take the plunge, or that's at least the way I looked at it. Okay, if you want a little bit more buffer, you use 3%, for example, then 24,000 yearly expense over 3%, then that means you need like 800,000 in liquid assets. So I think that was kind of how I look at it. I think if you're in your 30s, then potentially you have a longer runway, you need more. If you're in your 40s, for example, then the money should last you until you're 70, right? And that's how kind of it works. Like if you assume a 30-year retirement period based on the 4% rule. After that, I mean, there is also CPF, and potentially you might have property that's already paid up, right? And you can actually use that and get rental income as well. So a lot of people, I think there are actually quite a few Singaporeans here that's living in Chiang Mai. Some of them are just collecting rental income and living a very good life here, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's really about lifestyle choices. Your lifestyle choices will change the calculation. At the end of the day, I think it depends on what is your cost and the kind of lifestyle you want to live, where you want to live. I mean, it might not be necessarily be cheaper living here in Chiang Mai, contrary to popular belief, right? If you, I mean, Chiang Mai can be as cheap as you want it to be, it can be as expensive as you want it to be. It really depends on the lifestyle. If you go to restaurant every day, maybe you will it will be more expensive than if you go to a hawker center in Singapore every day. So yeah, it really depends on the lifestyle. For me, I chose Chiang Mai because I still want that quality of life. So in Chiang Mai, actually you can live a very, 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 very good life, if on like $2,000 per month, and that includes like travel expenses, includes insurance and everything all in, right? If you like on a 2,000 per month budget, actually you can live a very good life, right? I'm in like a landed house, right, with like 4 bedrooms, uh, and like I drive around. I don't have to squeeze in the MRT. In Singapore, I have many meals at like the different eateries, restaurants, cafes. Yeah, I shop in like um, like the nice supermarket with organic food and all that. So I mean, from a kind of 性价比 point of view, right? The value for money point of view, it is really good, and that's why I chose this place, right? And just in general, there's a lot more space, more greenery, more nature, and I just love it here. So that's that's the reason, and I think different people will have different preference. You might not like Chiang Mai, and I know people who wants to retire in Singapore. That's okay. That's just up to individual preference. I mean, if I want it to be really cheap, if I go back to Singapore, if I stay with my parents, if I go to hawker center every day, and I take the MRT every day, I think expenses will probably be much lower than it is now. But like that's not the lifestyle I want to live after I retire, right? I want to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor, having slogged my way, slog my life, like not being able to see the sunrise and sunset while I was in the corporate world. I think I think I deserve a little bit of a reward lah, and I want to enjoy my retirement. And also I think some people think, oh, after you retire you won't do anything, there's no more work. Actually, I see quite a lot of retirees still kind of working of sorts, like whether it's freelance or they're doing some like I don't know, side gigs or consultancy. I think is still possible. A lot of people do barista fire as well. So you don't have to kind of clock in, clock out, and have a full time job. It's a little bit more of a flexible kind of work arrangement. And if you're open to that, that is also something that you can consider, right? So I think at the end of the day, it is not so much about the number. It is, of course, the number is important, but I think it's really the life that you want to design. For me, it's like a life redesign, right? It's not just about the number, it's about creating a life where I feel that I'm not constantly rushed, where I take things in my own stride. I have control over how I want to live my life, and there's nobody telling me what I need to do or what I want, what I should be doing. Yeah. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.